Yes, it is. And we're going to start it off like we always do. Stacking, stacking, stacking. Stacking your sats. Of course, we always like to say be stacking your ounces as well. You have to stack your ounces, have to stack your sats. We've talked about this over different shows. You have to have a some kind of strategy of how you want to stack your ounces to sats and sats to ounces, and that depends on each individual. But nonetheless, be stacking both, even if you're stacking something else in some kind of different kind of stocks or something, bonds and things like that. Be stacking as well. Make sure you make it a point to stack as much as you can. Um, and so, right, that's the best way. DCA, dollar cost averaging. And so be stacking. There's ways you can dollar cost average. You can manually dollar cost average. We talk about over Swan Bitcoin or Cash App, where you can just buy it, however, whenever you want to. Say you want to buy it once a week, you can go over to Swan Bitcoin, buy it, right? You go Cash App, buy it. Now you can also set it for automatic buys so that you don't have to think about it as much. And you just set it for automatic and you stack automatically, right? We're going to do a show on One Gold because One Gold is an important website for stacking precious metals, where you can also automate your stacking of silver, gold, platinum, or palladium. And so that's always key, because we're busy. Everybody's busy, man. We got families and lives, and sometimes you might forget.
Stuff slips.
Yeah, you might forget. So if you just automate it, you'll dollar cost average, and you'll have the stack for you. So these are things we'll talk about in the future. Some different platforms and things like that. We definitely always vet the platforms, and we use the platforms. We're not sponsored by the platforms.
No.
These are just things that we use personally that work for us, so that we suggest to other people that can work for them. So we're not, we're not sponsored. We're not trying to get a dollar. We don't sell anything. We're not trying to get anything from anybody. So, but be stacking, my friend. So,
Well, that was the Dos Equis guy, wasn't it? Stay thirsty, my friends.
Yeah, that's my man.
There's about 20 people in the room, which is pretty quick because we're only been on for 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So let me get to the point then, or no?
Wait, Esperando.
Okay.
Will Habdi, I want to welcome to the room. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Cousin Shango is in his final form here, and he's telling you guys to smash those likes.
Smash those likes.
Thank you so much for joining us and supporting us and hopping in the chat to engage with us.
Yes, Cousin Shango. One more time, sleeveless hoodie.
No, that's BK Crypto.
Oh my goodness, I don't know nothing, man.
Y'all
don't listen to me, man. I don't know what the heck.
Let freedom ring. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. I did send you back an email. I hope you received it. And as soon as I get the additional information, I will forward that to you ASAP. ASAP Rocky.
Well, let's go. We're going to have a show, and the show's called Opportunities. But should I go over this, or I should go right into opportunities?
MC?
That's about the interest that I was just talking to you about.
I would go into it, right, because this would be one of the reasons why you should find opportunities elsewhere.
Okay, so let's go.
They're going to do this, and then where would they get the money from to try to...
So let's go right into this then.
Before we go into the show part.
Yeah, so we're going to go in this before we go into the show part. So the United States debt interest payment reaches $1 trillion. So that's not the debt. That's just the interest on the debt. So let's talk about that. Oh boy, I wish I had this on a chart for you to pull up, because it's a damn hockey stick. So the debt has crossed the $1 trillion mark in 2023, driven by high interest rates and a record $34 trillion of debt. So let's flesh that out. There's $1 trillion of debt every 100 days. Interest on a $34 trillion debt.
So for $34 trillion, I pay $1 trillion in debt.
Every-
1 trillion in interest on the debt.
Pretty much every quarter,
Oh.
every 100 days.
So I'm paying 4 trillion
Yeah.
in interest a year.
Yeah.
On top of the, you said 34
trillion, yeah.
68.
Well, it's 30. It was 31 in 2022. It was 29 in 2021. It was 27 in 2020. So you get it. It's gonna go up next year.
Because it's gonna compound.
Yeah, it's gonna compound. It's gonna go up, which is crazy. And so now, like she's looking at it right now, just like I'm looking at it, it's $34.0 trillion worth of debt.
23.
That's 2023. So 24.
Right, we haven't even started.
So yeah, but we're already a trillion because first quarter is over. So that first trillion already happened.
And we didn't pay these. So is it?
Yeah, it's just beating us up.
Is that 830 billion or trillion? That's
Where?
a billion. Would it be right there, right?
Yeah.
The interest payment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're headed into the trillion because it compounded and they haven't put any money on it. And there's not enough money to put on it.
And so, and let's go into this because I don't like this. We did a show about this. I may run it back. Scientific notation. They just put these numbers out here, but you got to know it. You guys who are in science, you don't write out the word trillion or billion, nothing like that. you scientifically notate it, right? So what? We're talking about 12 zeros. So 1 trillion is 1.0 times 10 to the 12th power, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's right. So then if you're talking about 34 trillion, so now you got to go 3.4 times 10 to the 13th power.
But they don't write it like that because that's confusing to laymen. That's why they write it with the T or the V.
But the people who know that these numbers are so large
that it's hard for the mind to comprehend.
And that's so much money.
Calculate.
And we talked about it. Off the top of my head, I think count to a trillion, take 31,000 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you woke up the day you was born, it would take you 31,000 years to count to 1 trillion. And they use this number very loosely.
Is this payments or is this debt?
It's interest.
I guess what I'm asking.
Interest debt.
They're telling you about the debt, though. This is not what.
No,
they're
this
paying.
is the debt, but that's the interest
debt.
that's accumulating on top of the debt. Like if you got a credit card and it's just interest that's accumulating on top of it. This is what you owe on top of what you already owe. And you guys, I recommend you go out there to the U.S. World Debt Clock, and you just see that thing running, man. That thing is turning.
I'm just going to read it to them real quick.
Oh, go ahead, because I have a hard time reading it. It's very small.
It says the cost of paying for America's national debt crossed the $1 trillion mark in 2023. This was driven by high interest rates and a record $34 trillion mountain of debt.
Yep.
Over the last decade, U.S. debt interest payments have more than doubled amid vast government spending during the pandemic crisis. And remember all of the helicopter money. As debt payments continue to soar, the Congressional Budget Office reported that debt servicing costs surpassed defense spending for the first time ever. I'm going to read it one more time. The Congressional Budget Office reported that debt servicing costs, the cost to service debt, surpassed what we pay in defense spending for the first time ever.
And that defense spending is usually the top line item on the budget, right? Year after year after year, the defense budget is the top line where they spend the most money. And it's a shame that not only just, you said services, not even paying the debt,
the servicing costs.
Just the servicing costs cost more than
defense spending.
Defense spending, which is
and we're engaged in actual campaigns, so that's interesting. It said at current rates, the U.S. national debt has grown by a remarkable $1 trillion about every 100 days, which is equal to roughly $3.6 trillion per year.
Mm-hmm.
As the national debt has ballooned, debt payments even exceeded Medicaid outlays in 2023, one of the government's largest expenditures. On average, the U.S. spent more than $2 billion per day on interest. So $2 billion per 24-hour period in interest costs last year. Going further, the U.S. government is projected to spend a historic 12.4 trillion on interest payments over the next 10 years, averaging a little over 37,100 per American.
Right.
Exacerbating matters is what the U.S. is exacerbating matters is what the U.S. is running a steep deficit, which stood at 1.1 trillion for the first 6 months of the fiscal year 2024. This was accelerated due to the 43% increase in debt servicing costs. Y'all, we in the wrong industry. We need to get in the debt servicing industry, along with $31 billion increase in defense spending from the year prior. Additionally, a $30 billion increase in funding for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in light of the regional banking crises last year was also a major contributor to the deficit increase.
And I'm sorry, you all. I wish I had the chart. The chart is ugly. Man, it's like a hockey stick. If you remember a hockey stick chart, kind of go flat, flat, flat. You just bang, it goes up. It's a rough chart. And as far as the interest that's owed on the debt, so yeah, that's something I came across, and I thought we could talk about it. If you want to read that, I'm sorry, because I had anything.
Let me see. Okay, Cousin Shango said, the long and short of it all is, how the heck can the nation pay this off when they don't pull an equal amount of taxes out of us, right? That's just because they keep printing and printing and printing, and they don't care if it gets paid off or not, because they'll be dead before that debt actually comes due. I tried having this conversation with my family, and they just look at me and like, and so what? The government will find a way. No, 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 they won't. They can't. Not without making all of us work for free. Let Freedom Bring wants to know, what are our thoughts on how the government will handle all of this debt? I think they'll do what anthropologically humans like to do. They're gonna stick their head in a hole like an ostrich and hope that somebody else will take care of it.
Yeah, a lot of times, a lot of people say they'll just default on it when it's all said
Then
and
done.
done. They'll just default on it,
That's
and it's just like
human behavior.
yeah, it's just human. It's like if you just had a credit card and you couldn't pay it off anymore, you just stop paying it, you just default on it, and they'll just put it
It's
on your
somebody
credit.
else's problem.
Yeah, they'll put it on
But
your
that's
credit.
the issue with America, right? So they're just printing and printing and printing. And the problem is that the people in office who are managing these things only move in their best self-interest. So if it's not in their best self-interest, they don't do anything with it, right? It just, this is this. We have to report it because I guess somebody says that we have to, but as far as that being on the agenda to manage, to take care of, to resolve, to be solution oriented for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's not in their best interest. So now I'm going to tell you this though, right? You saw how many times I mentioned the word debt servicing costs. What they will do that does work in their best interest is find a way to capitalize and monetize the debt that they created.
Yeah.
So that they will do. Because I find it to be interesting that debt servicing costs outweigh defense spending. And defense spending has always been the United States' largest expense
Line item,
or
yeah.
expenditure, as they like to call it. So when you start hearing little things like that, it does give you insight into, we have this problem, and I know that your best interest isn't in solving the problem. I'm sorry, not best interest, self-interest. Your self-interest is, how can I make money off of this problem that I've created? And the debt servicing cost answers that question somehow, some which way, shape, or form. The more debt they create, the more earn in the debt servicing costs. So that's what the trick bag is for that. Cryptonomics, hey, so what's up?
What's
Shocked,
up?
but not shocked. It's just the number so big, right? Hold on, I skipped some. Cryptonomics said, I got a letter the other day from the bank that consolidated, and they said straight up that once the bank moved over in October, that no funds, not $1, would be insured by the FDIC. I've been hearing a lot of that lately, Cryptonomics, and that's odd, right? Because the amounts that I've been hearing that about are well under the jurisdiction of the C. But reading this article that we just read a moment ago, it sounds like the FDIC is unable to make good on their insurability
Which is
in funds.
250,000.
Yeah, but it sounds like they're not able to insure anything. They're like picking and choosing what they're gonna insure, even if it falls well under their jurisdiction.
That's man. So then we can't keep too much money in our banks, and we always say that you got to find places to keep your money. Because banks, especially if you talk about top 4 banks, any banks after that,
they're getting consolidated, which is what Cryptonomics is trying to bring the attention to.
So your top 4 banks.
And he's saying that in the process of consolidation, they're dropping the FDIC insurance. I thought it was odd. Do y'all remember when I think it was Silicon Valley Bank? One of these banks had went under, and Roku was one of their major clients or what have you. And they had, I think, $434 million that was uninsured by the FDIC. And I said, that's so weird that someone made that decision, because you lost all of that money now when the bank went under. But now that Cryptonomics is making this point, it's starting to kind of click now in my mind. But what would be the benefit of putting such large amounts of capital in a bank that's not insured?
Yeah, because
what are y'all getting on the back end if something stupid happens?
Yeah, you should have made, what's that called? That JP Morgan, that special bank, what's that called? The premier banking, we have to have at least 25 million.
You talking about private wealth banking?
Yeah, you might. I don't know why you would just have it in this
Why
bank.
would you do that? And it's uninsured.
Yeah, it's a poor.
I have to dig into that. It sounds like a little rabbit hole to jump down.
Accountant might have got fired.
Cousin Shango said they'll make the dollar worth a wet fart on a hot day. Ew. We'll be spending $500 per grocery store visit. And that's just for 2 people, right?
Yeah, it's going to get ugly.
When we buy beef or chicken. But the sheeple here will just keep listening to the ringleaders of the 3-ring bread and circus. Join the Go Along, Get Along gang to fight and defend the yahoos who continue to rob them. Cryptonomics, get your money out. I don't keep that much in the bank. No ways. We don't either. Right? No. We keep just enough in order to kind of keep stuff going here. The infrastructure of the house, stuff, everything else.
Moved around.
It will not sit in any.
Yeah, it has to get moved around because it can't just sit in the bank. They're giving you 25 basis points interest rate, which is 0.25%.
But if something stupid happens, if you lose your card, if the bank gets locked up or frozen, we have a way to access our funds.
Yeah, and they're constantly having stories coming up about people losing everything they put into the bank.
That's all business banking, though.
Yes,
that's the weird part. That's the business banking.
Yeah, the business side of the game.
Okay, so we have a Price Cobbs in the room. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The government made them whole regardless of it being over the 250,000 limit. The government bailed out all SVB customers. So they bailed out even Roku, whose money was uninsured. This is what I'm trying to feel like. There's something weird and odd going on because you're not doing the normal things. You're moving around them. And I want to know, why are you moving around them? And what do you get as a benefit to move around it? We have somebody in the room named OC Benji. I've seen that name before. Thank you so much for joining us again. Who said truth. And everybody's making out like a fat cat except for your average American, and that's the problem.
That's the problem. And so here we go.
Thank you for confirming.
I'm glad that was a perfect segue, because everybody in the United States, except for the American, we always talk about reverse engineering things. And this is a show, Assets and Arbitrage. So I will speak on the arbitrage. So I came across this just yesterday. And I wanted to read it off to you guys because we always talk about this. So one of the cheapest countries in the world launches a new digital nomad visa. So for people who work from home, who have remote jobs, right, there are a lot of opportunities out there to get nomad visas. And so you got to keep them in mind, keep a lookout for. So this one is this is Turkey. So this is a digital nomad visa in Turkey. And I'll keep it simple. It's a fairly long article, but I'll keep it simple right now. So they want to know, what are the requirements for a nomad visa in Turkey?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, so you will have, they say you have a few hoops to jump through to secure a new visa in Turkey, and this includes, so you have to have employment by a business contract that proves that you are a digital nomad and you have steady source of income. So you have that, of course, we want that. Demonstrating a monthly income of $3,000 or $36,000 a month. And you have to be between ages between 21 and 55.
Mm-hmm.
So those are pretty simple requirements to meet. You know, if you make that amount of money and you're in that age range, now you can get a visa
But
in
applicants
Turkey.
do have to have a university degree.
Yes, so they want you to have a university degree, meaning a 4-year degree, undergrad degree. For my brothers out there and sisters out there, y'all might be able to get away with a 2-year degree. I don't know.
No, it says a university degree.
You get a 2-year degree from
An
university.
associate's degree. I doubt it.
You can try it.
But I mention that because these countries are looking for intellectual property. They're looking for innovation. They are looking for, your average American is a superstar in another country, and people are missing that.
And just not to cut you off, but they're looking also to strip the talent from the United States, because they're talking about young people for the most part. Strip the young talent and bring it to their country. And also, once you bring it to their country, you're bringing U.S. dollars in.
Mm-hmm.
To
and
their
not
country.
Taking anything out of their economy.
Right. And so, and Turkey is a beautiful place. You know, it might not sound like that to people. She'll read some of the part. It's right there on the Mediterranean Sea.
So it says here that they're specifically looking for nomads from the USA, Canada, the UK, and the EU. Right? All very white countries.
Stripping talent from these countries.
The Turkish Culture and Tourism Ministry is poised for so many applicants that they've launched a dedicated website where digital nomads can apply for the new visa. You can complete your application online from anywhere in the world, but you will have to visit your nearest Turkish embassy to collect your work permit and visa once it's been granted. Now, why do you need a work permit if you already have a job?
I think that might be for tax reasons, but double check.
No, I think that what they want you to do is, in applying, they are going to give you the ability to work in their country because they are looking for talent.
So they may poach you.
They want to poach you. If the talent is skilled enough, they will poach you from your American tech job or what have you, and that's what the work permit's for.
Very smart.
We're not sure how long the application process will take because this visa is brand new, but the fast online application is good news for nomads who don't want to spend days filling in paperwork, standing in long lines. They're talking about how nice Turkey is. It's home to more than 20 million people, located on 2 continents, and is a must-see for all travelers.
That's Istanbul, as she referred to.
Eating out is incredibly cheap. Right? Because what do Americans and Europeans want to do? They want to eat. They want to stuff their little faces.
Okay.
And many of the best attractions in the city are free. Accommodation is also much lower in Istanbul than the European average. Why? Because Americans and Canadians romanticize Europe. That's why. In fact, Istanbul has a reputation for being one of the most affordable cities in Europe. So if you want all the hustle and bustle and activity of city life without the pressure on your bank account, this is a great place to be.
Istanbul.
Most of these locations are coastal because they know people like water. And attracting digital nomads year-round would help boost the economy and promote the regions as 24/7 destinations, especially during the winter months when tourist footfall typically slows down. Turkey has a very strong infrastructure in place for the digital nomad, including fast and reliable internet service, a host of cafes and working spaces, which is really important.
It is.
And great transport connections across the country as well. Getting to Turkey is easy. Turkey has a total of 35 airports with international links. So you will be spoiled for a choice when it comes to deciding where in the beautiful country you will want to call your short term home. Now, I want you to repeat what they said.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again, your short term home. And then they tell you how to apply for your visa. So these things are really interesting because I think what they're doing is they're piloting skilled workers, tech workers, workers with high skill sets. You're seeing that El Salvador they're giving out 5,000 very competitive visas for the most skilled people in the world. And then you're going to notice there are a few other destinations we're going to talk about here in a moment who are also doing the same thing. So that game theory is playing out.
Oh, yeah.
The world is noticing that America has almost like a disdain for its own citizens. And if you don't want them, we'll take them. And the money that you pay them.
Yeah, and they're talented, and they're really talking to young people. Like I say, they're talking to young people. The range was 21 to 55, but they want probably on the lower side, right? You get more work out of them, right? Is that how you say? And you see, we have talked about this before. That's a little bit of, I don't know, you want to call it ageism. It's up to them to make the range. But if you're 56 and you meet all these criteria, but you don't meet the age criteria, this is where
It's a no-go.
This is where people will get aged out of the market. Generally, right around 56, people want to say, "I'm gonna work to 62. I'm gonna work to 67." Maybe, but the market will age you out. And if you're trying to move around, I see a lot of people moving from job to job, lateral moves. You'll get aged out eventually if you're not moving up and onward. It's a problem. It's a problem. So they want to poach American talent. Tech, right? Was it mostly tech?
Well, it doesn't have to be tech, right? Because American talent's American talent.
But it just want remote
Other countries
workers.
do, yes. So it would be tech because you're talking about digital design,
Yeah, stuff like
digital
that.
marketing, graphics, coding, dev.
Yeah.
All Might wants to know who's the woman. Do you mean me?
Yeah.
My name is Erin. This is my husband, Simon. And thank you for joining our show.
Nice to meet you.
Cousin Shango got to go get them babies. Shango, we'll see you when you get back.
Yeah.
I know. What woman? Here we go. So there are also cities, before we start talking about, all over the world. And the reason why we're bringing up all over the world is because we wanted to show you the trouble that the financial trouble the U.S. is in.
Yeah.
If the U.S. was a business, which it is, a corporation, that corporation is insolvent. Let me say that again. Based on that article we just read, if the United States was a corporation, and it is, this corporation is insolvent. And you are technically part of this corporation as a citizen.
Yeah.
So you want to start seeing the writing that's on the wall and been on the wall for a good little while that is forecasting things to come. What happens when corporations become insolvent, right? Infrastructure starts to crumble, things happen. There's reorganizing, right? Which we come to know as layoffs and firings. And sometimes the organization files bankrupt and goes clean out of business. But what does that mean when the corporation's actually a country? Right? Rome is burning. So you want to start figuring out what your options are. And if you're like, I'm an American, I have absolutely no intention in leaving, you need to have a plan in place so that the insolvency of the United States doesn't dwindle away at your economic energy and doesn't dwindle away at the money that you have and you earn and you need to survive and to take care of your obligations, family or otherwise.
Yeah. So goes back to flag theory. Have some options. We talk about the 5 flags. We're going to go into the extended part of it. But you do need to have a place, not to say where you run, because people take that as like, as cowardice or something. No, but you just strategically, like playing chess.
Have an exit plan.
You have an exit plan. It's a place that you want to be. and I can be here. And you're still a United States citizen. It's not like you gave up your citizenship, right?
Right.
You still got that blue passport. When you go back and travel back and forth, you all know when you finish through customs right there, and they hand you back your passport, they say,
welcome home.
Welcome home. So it's always your home, no matter where you are. Like she said, they have the 5,000 very competitive visas
In El Salvador.
And I guarantee you, once those are taken up, President Bukele will roll out something else, because he started with the what was it, the volcano visas?
Bonds.
Bonds.
The volcanic bonds.
No, but the visas for the people who would stake $1 million worth.
Oh, yes. They had one they called Bitcoin visas, though.
Okay, Bitcoin visas.
I thought that's what they were called.
And so, that was highbrow.
Like
so
what Max and Stacy came in on?
Yeah, it's highbrow. So they come in on that one, and then he brings it down a little bit to get more, of your middle class who can come over. And also, he puts the stipulation in it with the type of people you are. You're scientists, doctors.
But that's what they're looking
IT
for. So what
like
he's doing is he is building a country with the best and the brightest.
Yeah, the best and the brightest.
The best, the brightest. And really, you want to look at it for the reality of he's looking for growth mindset, right? He's done with the poverty. He's done with it. I think he's probably sick of it, right? He's sick of it.
And the crime.
So, and the crime, because the crime goes hand in hand with the poverty.
It's brutal crime.
So he's trying to build a environment, an ecosystem of the best, the brightest, the most innovative, those with growth mindset, those with the right perspectives, those who attract prosperity, large amounts of money, who know how to spend large amounts of money and keep that money that what do you call it, babe? There's a
circulating within the community is what you mean,
right? Like the thank you, but the circulation, right?
Yeah,
where
circulation.
The dollar or the Satoshi in El Salvador's case can
circulate multiple times
yeah. without leaving the El Salvadoran economy. Right, so you guys should be familiar with this, right? They say in the Black community, the dollar doesn't even make it an hour before it's gone.
That's a tough number,
right? Was it an hour? Was it 3 hours?
It's tough. The number fluctuates, but it's low.
And for other communities that apparently we're not allowed to even talk about, their posts pulled down, but y'all know who they are. Their dollar circulates for days before some of it exits out of their community. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to establish a community where, like I said, because they do use the dollar, but the Satoshi will circulate over and over and over and over and over again optimally until it's like forced to leave the community for one reason or another.
Right.
But it's a way to establish solvency, for one, and great wealth, a great wealthy economy, a strong economy of infrastructure. One of wealth, one of talent, one like the ecosystem. He wants it to be like Dubai, like bar none.
Dubai, yes indeed. Dubai, Singapore was his vision. This will be the Dubai, Singapore of the Western Hemisphere. So, if people could have gotten in on Dubai or Singapore.
Ground floor, yeah.
There we go.
It's kind of like if you could have,
would have,
invested in Google in 2000. Y'all know the story.
But we're here now.
We could have got Bitcoin at $14.
No.
Put your whole paycheck in it, right? If you had a time machine.
But we're here now. And you see the opportunity to go over there and get invested in people. I know a lot of people like to travel. My brothers and sisters out there like to travel. Travel with intention. Take a business trip. Take a business trip to El Salvador and just see what you think about it. I mean, we did it, right? And we're just looking to maybe go back in maybe a couple years?
Mm-hmm. Like for good. Yeah. Like that'll be our new flag.
That'll be our new flag. We might spend a few months there out of the year, come on back home. Mm-hmm. But we're really excited about El Salvador. And I tell people to go over there, check it out. It's a nice country. I mean, it's beautiful weather, it's beautiful. And then you can spend your Bitcoin if you want to, transactions in Bitcoin if you like.
Or
You know.
just being in an environment with like minds, with growth mindsets.
Yep.
You feel real inspirational. You feel inspired. You feel motivated. The people are inspirational. You feel inspired. That's how I should say it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a chance the other day to sit down and have a great table with BK Crypto and his education group.
Shout out to BK Crypto.
And who was not in the room.
Where you at, man?
Right. But, it was way long than it should have been, but it was uber motivating, very inspiring, just hearing everybody's journey, stuff people want to do, suggestions, recommendations, referrals, resources. It's the type of environment that kind of helps you to just kind of keep running this marathon that you're in order to do better and up level and be the best iteration or the best version of yourself you can possibly be for whoever you need to be that for, whether it's yourself or your family. It's just nice to be in those environments. When you guys go to the Bitcoin conferences, when you go to meetups, when you're in small clandestine groups just talking about Bitcoin and your financial goals and your business goals and stuff like that, it's very, very different from the draining, rigmarole, or as Cousin Shango would say, that bread and circus, right? Diddy did this and 50 said that. Cardi did this. Like all of that conversation, you're like, all right, we get it. We heard it. Drake and J. Cole and Kendrick. All right, yeah. Great. You dropped your diss tape. Now let's be done with this. So you really, to see that there's an environment you can live in, an ecosystem that you can live in, you can go there and be part of that ecosystem for a weekend, a week, a month, a quarter, or a year, or years. It is a nice option to have. It's a great flag to have in the back of your pocket if you want to plant that flag.
Yeah, and that's an important flag to plant because there are the 5 flags. We went over them multiple times, but that is so that would be getting a few flags out of the way at one time.
At one time.
As far as investment, as far as where you live.
Catching several birds with one stone.
Yeah, so that's really good. I mean, El Salvador, we're not sponsored by El Salvador or President Bukele, but they're here.
We're open to sponsorship, though, President Bukele, anytime, right? We'll have a whole Black community established for you. You just let us know.
He'll run us back.
I don't want no Black people there, right? Courtney, hi, sweetheart. Thank you so much for coming. You didn't slip in the room by me like you did last time. Will Hobby wants to know how far we are from El Salvador. We still need to fly, right? It is not a good idea to drive too far through Mexico.
No.
While where we are is safe, driving through Mexico on highways, through mountainous ranges is a horrible idea.
Yeah, it's about 17-hour drive, which is tough. And then you got to go through border. And
you never know what else you got to go through.
Yeah. So, you definitely want to fly to El Salvador, even from Mexico.
It's a 2-hour flight?
Yeah, 2-hour flight. It's real easy. It's real easy in El Salvador. The Salvadorian airport is refreshing because it's not that big.
So easy.
It's not that many people. We're used to Mexico City airport.
That's a mess. It's the worst airport in the world.
It's a nightmare.
At least in this half of the world.
Western Hemisphere. I've never been to an airport worse than that. Have you?
It's chaotic. It's packed. It's densely packed. It's a lot of people who don't have any power in their lives, so they want to wield all the power in the world at the airport.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But El Salvador, it was easy breezy. It was very clean. It was a fast out processing into the country.
Walk straight out.
It was really.
It's right. Easy. It's rides to get you to your Airbnb or your hotel. It was really nice. It was really nice and refreshing. Like, okay, we're here. It didn't take too long to get through customs because the lines aren't long. You go through custom lines at Mexico City Airport, man, you'll be waiting 30, 45 minutes just getting through the line. And then when you get to the agent, right,
mm-hmm.
then it's another 10 minutes with questions. And so, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, no, that El Salvador is a great, the process is real easy.
So, Mexico City is a tough airport. You know, and just dealing with that, it's probably the biggest city I think in the Western Hemisphere.
Oh, Lord, it's hard.
Sometimes, you know, between that and Sao Paulo.
So when y'all come visit us, y'all remember that. But
Yeah,
we'll pick
that's
you
right.
up from the airport. So
Yeah, we'll wait.
we'll wait the 3 hours
Yeah,
for
we'll wait
you.
3 hours for you to get through customs and immigration.
Yeah, that's a mess.
But it's a mess down there. Even dogs. Last time I left the airport, I forgot to eat a sandwich, and the dogs. I was about to walk out the door. I thought, "Whew, we finally made it through." And then the lady, the cop with the dogs, rolled up on me,
With a German Shepherd.
and I'm like, "What? What's going on?" So I got to go over here to this table and open up my whole suitcase.
And it was a sandwich.
It was a sandwich, half-eaten sandwich. I put it in there and said, "I'll eat it later." Apparently, I won't. She threw it in the garbage.
Instead of just letting them eat it.
I wasn't gonna eat it. I wasn't gonna play that game with her. But she's like going through my stuff. Like, I don't have anything. I neatly folded my stuff up, and you just.
But you're not allowed to. Food's not allowed to.
And I forgot that.
cross,
And I forgot that. I had put that in my. I forgot about that. So that was my fault.
Mhm.
But they tore my whole luggage up. I said I folded this stuff nicely. They looking at. I bought something back for the kids, like some candy or something. They looking at this. And say, I don't have anything, ma'am. I do not have anything. But you know, that's why going through these airports can be a headache, especially these larger cities. So that's one of the things you keep in mind when you travel. But El Salvador's airport, very easy, very even when you left, the people were very helpful to us.
Yes.
For our airline, I forget what the airline was.
Yeah.
And so they were very helpful to us. And
but here's the thing, right? We could suggest country after country, place after place, city after city, but you really have to sit down and establish your own what I call SWOT, right? Your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And you have to decide which countries, which cities are best for your flag planting based on your visions, based on what you want to accomplish, based on your family makeup, et cetera, right? Like the way we kind of did things here in Mexico, unless you have a very large family like ours, I wouldn't suggest this at all, right? And if you have a strong sense of discipline,
yes,
that would be the only way I would suggest that.
Okay.
You may have a great work from home job, but your income is not as high as people may assume it is. Right? So you can't always just take other people's advice on, yeah, you go to Mexico City, hang out in Polanco. It's like, well, maybe you can't afford $1,700, $2,000 a month rent, right? That might be like, hell no. I need to stay out, somewhere else where maybe I can do something more doable, like $400 or $500 per month.
And I don't. So people will try to say, hey, man, I move out somewhere and pay less, but then you get into some sketchier neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then it becomes
the
availability of protection.
But also, right, Mexico City may not be the city. Maybe you need to go to Merida where the average rental cost is $400 or $500 a month, and you can get systems. That's basically what we're rolling at. Right. I don't suggest that for Mexico City. If we know that your budget is a little bit, let's say just a little bit tighter, then we'll say, you know what? Oh, okay, got you. Boom. You can get you a nice spacious place down south in Merida. And I'm just giving you an example, right? I'm not, right?
By the Gulf of Mexico.
Extremely hot there. And you're like, well, I don't do well in the heat. And these are the things that you need to start looking at, what your preferences are, what the things you're willing to do, the things that's out. I'm absolutely not willing to live in the country. I need to be in the city. I need to have fiber optic internet. I can't have the electricity go out multiple times a day for no reason at all. Those kind of things.
Things like that will happen. So build this plan out. It's not easy.
But we talked about obligations in the United States too far away. Right? I have an elderly mom. I have an elderly dad. I may have siblings I'm responsible for where I can, live by myself. But if something happens, I'm the sibling that needs to go take care of it. And Turkey is that's out of the range that you feel comfortable being if you have obligations still back in the United States.
And I will tell you this, though. Just being on this journey for many, many years. Like when you go to places like Turkey, that's really jumping the way out.
Yes, it is.
So we always mention Mexico because it's just a little bit. It's like dipping your toe in the water.
Yep.
You still have comfort creatures that you have from the United States. You know,
Mhm.
some places that people like to
You can still
eat.
get Amazon.
You can still get
All
Amazon.
right, this Red Lobster is in town.
KFC chicken, little stuff, comfort.
Little things. We have Popeyes.
Things of comfort.
Right.
And so you might want to start there so that when you go somewhere totally far like that, you can become homesick.
And the culture shock can
Yeah.
be significant for you.
And then you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back.
Right? It's kind of easy to learn Spanish. It may be a little bit more difficult to learn Turkish, or to go to a country where they have a harder language. Like, for instance, here in South America, Portuguese is a lot more difficult than people like to admit, to learn and to understand and for your ear to catch.
Yeah.
So things like that, you want to kind of just jot down to yourself, what are some of the things that these countries, and even if the weaknesses seem trivial to you, put them on, right? No Amazon. That might be a big deal to you.
Yeah, there's certain things that might be deal breakers, if you will. Like you said, something like that.
That goes in the threats category.
Something about, for us people out here, weather, I like a temperate climate, 80 to 60 every day. Not too much below 60, not too much above 90. So, if you catch a spot that everything looks good and lines up, but then the weather is like, oh, it's going to be
Merida's very hot.
Hot and
Cuernavaca
humid.
is very hot.
And humid. The humidity is really a killer. And because it gets hot here, but it's not humid. We're up 9 plus.
12,000.
That's 9,000, but it's somewhere up there.
Okay, 10,005.
Okay, we'll go 10.5 above sea level.
Yeah.
So even if it gets hot,
It's 5,500.
it's not humid. It's still, you still get a cool breeze and things like that. So
yes,
I
11,000. It's 11,000 feet. 5,500, 5,500.
Okay.
Because we're 5,500 above Mexico City, and Mexico City is 5,500 above the U.S.
Yeah, because it's a mile.
So 11. Mm-hmm.
So keep those things in mind. People who move from up north, they're tired of the winter, they're tired of snow, they're tired of all this stuff. So they want to get somewhere that's nice and warm. People come from different areas. You also have to think about, your health. It depends on your age, your health, and stuff like that.
You may not be able to tolerate altitude, or you might not do well at sea level. These are the little things that you kind of, and that's why I say there's a significant amount of that goes into how you want to do your flag plan.
Especially if you're older. Younger people, they kind of like to push through.
They can adjust.
Yeah. But if you're older and you have asthma, you have breathing problems, then you don't want to be
Take that risk.
You don't want to be anywhere where it's humid and stuff like that. You want to be somewhere that's a little drier, more arid, and you go on and on and on, because if you do have some other kind of health problem, then you want to be closer to the big city, right? So you can get
proper medical care in a timely fashion.
In a timely fashion. There you go. You said it. You don't want to be way out, too far out in the hacienda like we are, and if something go wrong, it's like ain't nobody to call.
Well, you can call the ambulance, but it's not like in the U.S. where response time is less than 3 minutes.
You'll sit there and wait. And, and these are the things you have to do to build out your flag theory. Like we said, I want to reiterate this. You don't have to move somewhere permanently. 2 months out the year. I'm telling you, go spend 2 months in another country. It's a long time. It'll feel. So, just 2 months is out a month. If you say, hey, I want to go to this country for 1 month, it's a long time, because it's like, it's one thing to go visit and be a tourist. It's another thing to just get up and live there every day. Like, where do I go to get this done and get that done? Maybe something like your dry cleaning, something simple like that. Where do you go get your coffee every morning? Where do you go to work with your work from home job? Once you're there,
are you vegan?
Right?
For 30 now,
days.
I'm gonna tell you, some of the American lifestyle is just that first world country lifestyle. Yeah. You go to certain areas and they're like, no, it's not gluten free. There's no vegan. There's no. I know they have a whole bunch of these little different
Yeah.
peanut free and stuff like that. You really want to add those things. You're allergic to shrimp, don't move to a coastal town, right? The coastal town is going to be abundant in seafood.
Yes.
If you have seafood allergies or just dislike seafood all the way around, these are some of the thoughts and considerations you want to put into, even for me, I would say for vacations. We would like for you guys, if you have the opportunity, experience, to actually, when we say travel with intention,
Yeah.
not the resort, not a cruise,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually go somewhere. And we're going to say, start with El Salvador. Everybody in this room right now is big on Bitcoin. It would be a great opportunity. It's going to be an easier physical networking opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see the lifestyle, a vision of the lifestyle you may want to have based on your crypto, things that people do in order to enlarge their portfolios and stuff like that. So if you guys are thinking about taking a trip, we're in April. Most people take their summer vacations in May, June, July, and August. Some people September. I would definitely have El Salvador on the top of my summer vacation trips.
Yeah. And definitely because, like you said, if you do it with intention, you can get a lot of work done. I don't mean like your person, but you can get a lot of work done and understanding. Like, is this a place I would like? Is this a place we have a very young and I guess what would you call them?
Our children?
No, I'm talking about the president, President Bukele.
Oh, the young, innovative president. So it's progressive.
You look at the United States, he's half his age, right? He's the same age as his son.
Yeah.
Like, he shouldn't even, we ain't even gonna go on somebody who's 80 something years old being the president. He's 42, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he has, that
forward
thought.
thinking.
And it's a homogeneous
country.
So he's thinking about his people.
Yes, he has an interest in his country. He's not there just for his own self-interest. And that's why they're hating on him hard. Yeah. Because you're not used to politicians actually having a self-interest in empowering the people. Mm-hmm. It's typically like, I'm in this office so I can see how much money I can make, how many of my buddies can kind of put on and so forth. And we've seen that for so long that this is crazy. Hi, Cousin Mo. Thank you so much for joining us. So
Mo, is Cousin Mo, Jerome Mo?
You want to, no, not that Cousin Mo. Oh, I do have a Cousin Mo. Okay,
Mo. What's up, bud?
But you're my other Cousin Mo.
Nonetheless, what's up, Mo?
You're my other Cousin Mo. So, what opportunities are there for me abroad? That's the title of the show, but it's also an activity we would like to leave you with. And again, we're not asking any of you to move anywhere. You don't have to move anywhere, but you should kind of travel outside of U.S. airspace to, one, declutter your mind. All of the broadcasting, all of the propaganda and programming, when you leave U.S. airspace, you don't have access to any of that stuff bombarding you anymore. Yeah. It's significant. We have 80 people in the room on Wednesday, April 17th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am thanking the Most High Almighty because I remember when we only had like 12 people in the room.
Yeah, so shout out to that.
We only had 12 cousins. Now we got 80.
Shout out to that. And for my people who are in Spanish Honor Society, that is ochenta.
Oh, Lord. When it hits 85, we're going to shout out Chad Ochocinco from the Bengals, right? As soon as it hits 85, hopefully Chad will come on the show one day.
I'm bombarding.
So, these are some of the activities you guys want to do during your 12-week year, mm-hmm. right? You can kind of sit down and say, I want to sketch out and envision, and it's a great visionary tool. Yeah. Nas had an album called King's Disease.
1, 2, and 3.
I cannot remember if it was 1, 2, or 3. Doesn't matter which one it was, but it was one of these albums where he said, I visualize what it is, not what it isn't.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of visualize, this is what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what idealistically, this is what I can sketch out for myself. I would like to go to El Salvador for the following reasons. Here are the things I'm not crazy about with El Salvador. Here are my opportunities in El Salvador. Here are the threats that I perceive to have with El Salvador. Maybe it's Costa Rica. Maybe it's Honduras. Maybe it's Belize. Maybe it's Hong Kong. Maybe Tokyo, right? It could be whatever it is for you, but to sit down and put it on paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely put it
on paper. So Big Mad said, and I'm gonna say it so that you can remember that I said it. He's not you. You're not coming with me until I burn the horse on my scalp. So as I sit here and I talk to my cousins about all of the research that we do so we can give you guys the advice that could potentially help increase your quality of life points, we have stuff like this.
What does that mean?
You're not coming with me anywhere until I burn the horse on my scalp. Keep in mind, I've been living in Mexico with him for the last 7 years. I've been married for the last 23 years. So you can get your ass off my live if you won't come on here and not contribute anything positive.
Yeah, we try to have this as a positive space.
But this is not the first time Big Mad has been on here. I've told you about that a few
okay,
times.
well, I mean, come on, Big Man, step your game up. You ain't got nothing else to do. I don't understand it. We're having a
don't block them, leave them.
We're having a very
everybody can say what they want, but I'm gonna say what I want back as well.
Okay.
So again, family, take the time to do something constructive, productive. If you guys have questions about living abroad, going to El Salvador, living in Mexico, living in Costa Rica, we've done all those things. We've traveled all over the world, so we can't give you the same perspective in a place we lived as we could a place we traveled. So understand the difference between those two as well. We are happy to sit down and talk to you guys about those things in depth and answer the personal concerns that you may have or you may have for your significant other, or if you have children coming with you, if you are in charge or have custody of, nieces, nephews. Everybody has everybody has their own kind of life setup that would be different from another person.
And it's moving very fast, right? So we were in Costa Rica, I guess it's been 10 years now.
2013.
Yeah, 2013, so almost 11 years. And so things have changed.
Significantly.
They have their own, their thing is Bitcoin jungle.
Yes.
Out in Dominical, place that we actually lived in Dominical. It is the jungle. It's the jungle. It's very interesting because it's a jungle that comes down to the beach. So it's very interesting because.
And the beach is a professional surfers beach.
Yeah, it's not.
So if you have small children, you need to know that the beach is a safety issue.
It's not a beach.
It's not Jones Beach. It's not Long Beach. It's not Miami Beach.
Cats out there professional surfing.
It's very dangerous.
It's dangerous. So you don't even let your kids go out there.
Yeah.
The tide comes in very hard.
If you have pets, because I know a lot of people take their pets to the beach. It's extremely dangerous in that capacity. Yeah, but they also have done a significant amount of infrastructure changes. Yeah. Now, here's the caveat with Costa Rica. If you're on a shoestring budget, if you're like, I'm not quite comfortable with the salary that I have in order to live in Costa Rica, we do not suggest Costa Rica. The expat community there is quite large, and they have really run up the market price of property, food, just your quality of life things there in Costa Rica.
Yeah, a lot of Costa Rica, because it's old school and it goes back, a lot of people who are expats, as you speak of, will be retirees. And so some of these places like El Salvador won't be so heavy in retirees as much as it is new talent, right? So I know you go over there and you live with a whole bunch of old people, but you go to El Salvador and you got like-minded people who are trying to do.
Now, El Salvador is still reasonable now, but you have to forecast that with what President Bukele is doing, that market price is going to get run all the way up.
And they have in Honduras, Bitcoin Valley. Mm-hmm, so you can jump on that real quick and be, one of the first people in Honduras. These places that sound like, I really want to be there, but you never know.
Travel there and see first.
Travel with intention.
Before writing it off.
Take an eye for it and be like, okay, talk to people. That's the real thing is with travel and intention. You speak to people. right? Speak to people. They'll talk to you. They'll tell you about what they really think about what's going on and the innovation and the things, and then you can get an idea like, is this somewhere I want to plant a flag?
Some people like to hop in expat groups, especially on Facebook. I'm going to tell you something interesting about expat groups. They can be snarky as hell when you're asking legit questions. I don't know why,
Yes.
but they are. They're really, really snarky. So I don't want you guys to join the expat groups on social media and feel demotivated or
Yeah.
discouraged because you talked to an a-hole who, was real snarky instead of just either scrolling past it or answering your question. Like, do one or the other, but don't do this. So it's one of the reasons why if we can put you in touch with somebody who already lives in the place that you're thinking about. We're trying to formulate different solutions for people. You just got to reach out to us. You got to send me an email. You got to tell me what you're thinking about. Tell me what's on your mind, what what you've kind of sketched out so far. It doesn't have to be a formula, it doesn't have to be formulaic, but at least have an idea. And it's interesting because a lot of people want things and have no idea what the thing that they want.
Yeah, and so
It's interesting, right?
and so also for my people out there, I know you guys out there bringing in the bag for your high income earners. When you get to these other countries, you might get different status. You can shift your tax burden a little bit by being out of the country, right? So definitely look at that if you feel like you have
see what the incentives are tax wise for the
if you feel like you have a heavy tax burden in the United States, you might want to set up something somewhere else. A lot of times it's 180 days they require you to stay in Latin America. They want you to stay there 180 days so that you get that tax burden. So, whatever your situation is, but yeah, getting out of the tax burden, it's not getting out of your taxes, but you shouldn't be taxed heavily. United States and Eritrea are the only two countries in the world who tax their citizens no matter where they go, right? If you're from Spain and you decide to move to Italy, eventually you don't have to pay taxes in Spain. You just cross over and pay taxes in Italy.
Yeah.
But United States, if you don't get your paperwork right, you're going to pay taxes in the country you're in, and then you're going to pay taxes in the United States. And then their thing is, well, you say, I don't even use the thing. They say, no, but you got the embassy. So you're paying taxes for that. And that's the United States. So people will fight hard to get out of the United States tax burden.
I would also absolutely, if you do your own taxes and if you move abroad, right? I'm not talking about just spend 3 months out the year or something like that. I'm talking 12 months out the year. You're going to be somewhere else. Definitely get a professional that first year that you're there. Talk to a professional, consult with a professional so that you understand the laws that you're dealing with concerning what you did that year. Right, because ignorance, unfortunately, is no excuse for the law.
That's what they tell us.
So you definitely want to do that. There was one other point that I wanted to make that was a big deal. Oh, here's the big deal. Americans, when you go to other countries, you don't necessarily have the rights and the privileges you do in America. And that's very important. When in Rome, you have to do as the Romans. Now, granted, if something big jumped off, you do have the embassy behind you. You do have certain rights as an American. But like if you live in Florida and you can go to the dispensary and get your stash and stuff from there because it's legal, that doesn't mean it's legal in this country. Or whatever country it is you're traveling in, you don't travel with contraband because it's legal where you are, little things like that. And Americans have a propensity to do those things and get hemmed up. Y'all saw what happened with Brittany Griner. She thought, she got it legally. She just didn't know. I don't know if she didn't know, if she did know. I can't speak for her. But it cost her a significant amount of her time and almost her contract at work. She spent time in a gulag. That's nuts. Right, a Russian gulag at that. So, little things like that, keep in mind, right? If you like to have firearms, you may not be able to have firearms in the country that you are traveling to.
You can't even have weapons things that could be perceived as weapons
in certain countries, in your vehicle, with you, on you, strapped to you, so on and so forth. You got to know the laws of the land. And that's very important, because I hear a lot of, I'm an American and I can know that you can't do that here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And, you want to keep a couple lawyers on deck, right?
If you're there permanently, yes.
Yeah, you want to keep a criminal lawyer, right? And you want to keep an immigration lawyer.
Yes. I'm going to say one more thing, and it's up to you guys. It's your preference. I never, ever, 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 ever suggest purchasing land in another country without having, I'm going to say, an attorney in the country and one at home where somebody can double check the other one. And if you can't afford to do that because it costs too much money, don't do it at all.
Don't do it.
Don't purchase the land. We've seen too many backdoor dealings, even though the person had the attorney and did the right thing, or thought they did the right thing. The attorney was working with the realtor. It was a lot of backdoor dealing, and everybody made out like fat cats. And the person didn't even get the property, and it's a lot of that going around.
Yeah, you get burned on that stuff.
So if you don't have to buy land in another country, don't.
So circle it all the way back around, family.
Just do Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, what is it?
It is property in cyberspace. Whatever you was gonna put in that land in that country, just put it in your Bitcoin coffer.
And then you could just,
because it's just too much risk involved.
There's too much risk involved.
Some people are killed in the process, and I'm not trying to scare you. We're telling you real things.
Yeah.
Right. This is not like America, where your real estate agent needs to be on board and the other real estate agent needs to be on board, or people are going to prison. That's not how it works in some of these other countries.
Right. And so, yes, she is very correct about that. And that's why you travel with intention, and you get to these places, and instead of messing around, hot girl summer and all this bullshit,
Passport bros.
Mm-hmm. Hey, how about you go meet some people of influence in the city that you are thinking about putting down some roots in? Mm-hmm. Influential business people, influential people in the police.
And we bring up El Salvador because President Bukele is making it an environment where that is easier to do. Mm-hmm. It is more reasonable to do and to achieve. It is more beneficial to you. Everybody's, I don't want to say they're scared of him, but everybody's moving above board because, right, of the sweep. Right, President Bukele made it clear that he's not playing around with the foolishness anymore. Right,
them boys.
So when we talk about a SWOT or a comparison, right now El Salvador is probably going to be number one in best opportunities and least amount of threats.
Yes.
Okay, with the most strengths and the least amount of weaknesses. It's still fairly close to home. They use the dollar, so you're used to using that currency. They use Satoshis, you're used to using that currency, and probably have more adoption than wherever city you're in currently at the time right now. The language, you're going to see more and more where English and Spanish are going to be at parity with one another in El Salvador because of the way they're attracting talent. The way English is the language of commerce and merchants. If you want to do business, people typically do business in English, and it's been that way for a long time.
Globally.
This is globally, right? Japanese, they English is their second language because of the business relations they have with the United States. You're going to see El Salvador. Is it good to learn another language? It is. But when you go there, you can find a lot of native English speakers, mm-hmm. where El Salvadorans will go back and forth from El Salvador to New York and so on and so forth, right? So you're going to see as President Bukele expands his landscape of growth mindset individuals who have high skill sets, you're going to see a parity with English speakers and Spanish speakers. So that helps you to navigate that landscape a lot easier without the burden of really having to learn Spanish the hard way. I'm not discouraging you from learning Spanish. I'm just showing you the strength. This weakness is now kind of becoming a strength because of the parity that's beginning to form there.
Yeah. And you got to understand too, it's a smaller country. They would say about the size of West Virginia, has 6 million people. So you want to get in, because it can't get too crowded.
Elevators waiting for you at the lobby, y'all.
Yeah. So eventually, when enough people get in, off, all access to people coming in at.
And it'll be like an exclusive Bitcoin club.
Yes. And that's where he's going with it. And if you go listen to any of his speeches, he'll tell you outright. He's not hiding it, right?
What?
He's not hiding what he's trying to do.
His mission, his objectives.
Yeah, he's not hiding it. If you go listen to him now, he's speaking in Spanish, and so it might go, over people's head. But go listen to some of his speeches. He has to speak at what was the other place? It was CPAC or something like that.
OPEC.
Yeah, maybe OPEC.
Okay.
He had to speak there.
They have APEC, they have OPEC. Yeah.
And he's speaking in Spanish, so you might miss it. But he speaks. He's a president. He has to speak to his country. But you want to get in early because.
But he tweets in English.
Yeah, if you follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he speaks English. If you guys needed a transcript of it, I'm sure you can find one.
He does tweet in English. He tweets in Spanish.
In English.
But get on the.
Nobody famous. Thank you so much for number 27. Nobody famous. My eyelash is coming. It's driving me crazy. Nobody famous gave me number 27 when we were doing lineage, and I read it, so I was glad that she gave that to me. This is driving me nuts. So thank you so much for that, sweetheart. I really appreciate you. She said excellent points. Nerd Up Inc., thank you so much for joining us, family.
Oh, I missed it.
We missed Ocho Cinco.
Ocho Cinco.
We were supposed to shout out at 85, but we were too busy finishing our SWOT. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you just get a little square piece of paper, do the little cross, right? Strengths, write them down. Weaknesses, write those down. Opportunities, write those down. Threats, write those down. And then once you start doing your research, then your SWOT can become a little bit more formulated.
Right. And
I'm scared of that.
And I know a lot of people have their own objectives. People may have lineage where they might want to try to go back
to the country of their forefathers.
Yeah, so there's always that. We have no tie whatsoever to El Salvador.
No.
Right. So we're just going to a random country. She has lineage to Guyana. I have lineage to the United States of America. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed. And some people want to go to their lineage. I grew up in Cincinnati, a lot of Germans, and they didn't even go back to Germany because they don't accept you.
Coming from New York to Cincinnati was such a weird experience for me. I grew up in a place where everybody was something to a place where you're black or you're white and that's it. Right? They don't know anything about other cultures, countries, foods, clothes, languages. They had the German school, but that was it.
Hey, that's what Michael Jackson told us.
Nothing. It was black or white.
Michael Jackson told
us. For a New Yorker. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
But as they say, 85% of black people live in or around 10 major cities, and Cincinnati isn't one of them. So,
Cincinnati
it's not one of them. So you're down the East Coast, down, south, and out in the coast, and the whole Midwest really isn't. We're not cultured like that, especially back in the 90s. Maybe now. I haven't been there in a long time, but maybe now.
Nope, not now.
Not even
now.
now.
I think you guys, we saw a lot of Hispanics there when we went.
Oh, did we? Okay. 2021.
2021.
But
it was a lot of Hispanics, and I think there's a lot of Africans. I'm just not sure what part of Africa they're from.
And what it appears to be to me is that people move forward and they bring people forward to the same place, right? Like you say, parents come, they go to New York, they bring more people to New York, New York. And, you see a lot of that with the different cultures. And different
My mom says, I did not pack up and leave Guyana for better opportunities in America for you to move to Mexico. But I always joke, I say, you walk so I can run. Right. I'm about to go to El Salvador now. Right. So, it's a great experience. There's a lot to learn. Everybody's experience it's like a fingerprint. Your journey is going to be different. Yeah. Even when you follow that same exact steps somebody told you to follow, your journey is going to be different, but it is fulfilling. It makes you feel good. And not every flag plant is successful. You'll have
Sure.
failure to launch. You're going to look
Yeah.
back at it, laugh. It's not
Yeah.
funny at the time, but
A-
you look back at it and laugh and say,
Ask Michael Saylor about his banking situation
in
in
Argentina,
Argentina.
right?
That was a failure to launch.
We moved straight to the Amazon in Costa Rica. So we had an indoor outdoor living situation. What does that mean? It means all of the animals and creatures of the Amazon have access to the house like we do. And many of them decided to come and to take up residence with us whenever they wanted. There were toads and carpenter ants and tarantulas and
Some other spider.
there was a sloth we called Sid. Was that before? That was the first was out.
He broke the branch.
He did break the branch. So
He
he
just
didn't
fell
come into the
down.
house on purpose.
No, he fell
fell
down.
into the house and then didn't want to leave, right? Talk about how cute they are. Not cute
We
at
had
all. Not at all.
What's the beetle with the crusher?
The pinchers, right?
Yeah.
That beetle. They have these beautiful caterpillars that are highly poisonous. Don't touch them.
But the kids will.
They did have toucans. Those were beautiful.
Toucans. Yeah.
They didn't come into the house. The beautiful things never made it to the house. It was the weird and ugly things that decided they want to come and peek in on us as a family. So
big
lots of stories we're not going to tell today.
Big black snakes, pause. But
gigantic.
They weren't venomous, but
doesn't matter.
They were intimidating.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
They were intimidating.
Doesn't matter at all. We watched a guy run over a snake, and it just kind of shook itself off and crossed the road when he was done. So yeah, no. Keep those things in mind.
It was a jungle. It was a jungle, y'all. It was a jungle.
It's Dominical.
But it's beautiful.
Costa Rica.
It's beautiful flowers, beautiful greenery. But it comes.
It was too real. It got too real too quick.
It's too real when you go out there.
It got too real.
It got too real. So like you kept your yard cut, and then there's a portion that wasn't cut. And when you went out there at night and flashed the lights, all you seen was eyes.
Yeah, we didn't like it everywhere.
I said, eyes of what? What are these eyes of?
Everywhere.
So yeah, it was crazy.
Now the constellations, you feel like the stars are literally on top of the house.
Oh yeah.
Even though we live in the country here in Mexico, the stars still seem really far away, like they did in the United States. So, everybody's journey is going to be different, but it should be fun, fulfilling. We want to hear your journeys. We want to hear your experiences. We want to hear your questions, right? You guys have questions. You want to actually do a FaceTime. We don't charge for consultations or anything like that. You just want to pick our brain, just let us know. Music, Peaceful Piano, thank you so much for wishing us a beautiful and happy evening. We hope you have one too. Maybe we need to reach out to you for some theme music or something for the show. But we have 84 people in the room. We did have 87. We're down to 84. No problem. We have been on for an hour and 17 minutes on this beautiful Wednesday, April 17th evening. We want to thank you guys so much for supporting us, for chatting with us, for emailing us, for FaceTiming and talking with us, for introducing us to other people in your networks. We really appreciate all of you and all that you do. And we will talk again on Saturday.
I think so. Saturday sounds about right.
At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We love you. We love you. We love you. Support your cousin, BK Crypto. He does have crypto swag. This is the time to wear it. He's got all of your Bitcoin maxi. He got the swag. If you're a crypto enthusiast, he's also got the drip, the sauce, whatever you want to call it. Just hit the drop down. Support him because they do have a educational group that physically supports the people in Brooklyn with Bitcoin education, financial education, and ways to get up out of that concrete jungle and that rat race. So if you can support your cousin with that, that would be wonderful. If you guys want to get in touch with us, the email is in the drop down. We answer every single email, good, bad, or indifferent. And we will catch up with y'all on Saturday. Bye.